quite well organized, and it's a 50-meter pool, and I'm number 3 in heat 1, so there's apparently 2 pretty good swimmers there.
And
So I guess I've got to mark that.
how far are you swimming?
3.9.
And what do you tend to do the
I
time?
want to do 58, somewhere around there.
Hello and welcome to another episode, an affirming episode on Team Petrie, where we go back 20 years in time. I hope you're going to find this interesting and inspiring. I hope you're going to think a little bit about your goals, what they are and what they should be.
Do you have any goals?
What? Goals?
Yeah.
What's some of your goals?
I don't know. Be satisfied. Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think you just gotta live every day as it comes, do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I do anyway. Who knows if we're even gonna be here tomorrow?
Yeah. That's very true. The world's a fucked up place, so.
What's wrong with it?
Are you joking?
Pretty fucking good world, I'd say.
Literally everything's falling apart.
Are you still as tough as you were 20 years ago? So this is a random Saturday about 20 years ago. So very close to the year 2002, 2003. I was the only foreigner competing in a swim time trial at a pool in Bucheon, South Korea. Do you know where that is? At the time, which is about, as I say, 2003 or so, I was living in Ilsan, a satellite city to the north of Seoul. Seoul is the world's 4th largest city after Tokyo, New York, and LA. As I was coming to the end of a teaching stint in the Far East, I started training for the Ironman triathlon. And this swim was part of my training, part of my preparation. In fact, if you look closely, the yellow cap I'm swimming in the footage, has the Ironman logo on it. The distance of the swim race was the official Ironman distance for the swim leg, 3.8 kilometers. I think I ended up swimming 3.9. I'm not quite sure why I put 3.9 in the text. Maybe it was a typo, but my goal was actually to win the race, even though I was ranked 3rd. And although that may seem overly ambitious, the Asians aren't particularly good swimmers. I'm not saying that to be funny, that just, and I am a pretty good swimmer. And so I kind of rated my chances quite high, and so did they, which is why I was ranked 3rd. So I thought there was a strong likelihood that I should win the race. And then, and I think that's also why I took this video footage, because I expected to win. So reviewing this salvage footage feels like getting into a time machine. In a certain sense, there's a feeling of what a difference 20 years can make. You know, you're seeing yourself 20 years earlier. You're younger, stronger, lighter, better looking, but also in a way more naive. And so, living in South Korea certainly did challenge my view of the world. And so me looking back at that person, I was also aware of that. I was aware then that I was quite naive, and doing the Ironman was a way to try and speed up that process where you become stronger, harder, better, right? You become a tougher participant in the world, right? And I must say, living in South Korea also challenged my view of the world and myself in it, especially for someone coming from South Africa. South Africa can be a pretty insular place, I suppose, anywhere if you only spend your life in that place can be pretty insular. And so going somewhere else that's so different means that you get a better idea of the world and yourself. Now, watching the footage, I'm struck by the fact that I'm the only foreigner, the only European in the pool. It's like, what are you doing here? And although the girl holding the camera is also South African, by the way, she's just gotten engaged. She's a really good friend of mine. I went to South Korea, then she followed a couple of years later. And then, we continued being friends. But I must say, I'm struck by how hardcore I was during this race. Compared to these days, I can swim, 1 kilometer and, I'm definitely not as fit as I was then. But swimming almost 4 kilometers in one go, like continuous, is no joke. It's even harder in a lane full of much slower swimmers, as you can see in the footage. It's also weird watching this footage and feeling like I can remember some of those moments like it was yesterday or a few minutes ago. I mean, it's odd what you remember. I remember, for example, the sheerness of the wall. It's a very unusual wall. It's quite a long way to get in and a long way to get out. I also remember that day was miserable. It was a miserable, cold, rainy day, the sort of day that you want to just stay in bed, right? And now you're going to take your clothes off and swim 4 kilometers, right? It was kind of wintry conditions, and so that's what I was doing. And so I think what I remember best is, I feel it looking at the footage, but I also remember it at the time, is the sense of potential and wasted potential and potential being wasted and wasting potential. And you're trying to, live up to a particular standard. And are you doing that? And this video is in a way about me not doing that. As I say in the footage, I only got 2 hours sleep, what's going on there. And although strategically it's tough to swim in these conditions, and so although that is a handicap, the other side is I missed the time, my goal time, by a hefty 4, almost 5 minutes. That's a lot. That's, missing it by 30 seconds is okay. Missing it by 1 minute is okay, but 3 or 4 minutes, that's not very good. And I do say in the voiceover narration that the pace started off too slow, and that there was a slump in the middle where I sort of just resigned myself to coming second and to, just going through the motions. I do think even if you were on the top of your game, it would be very hard to, in a situation where you've now got to lap those slow swimmers over and over again, and each time you do it tires you out. I do think that is a factor. And I do also say in the voiceover narration that passing these swimmers over and over again, but especially the first time I did, does tire you out. It's not the same as open water swimming where you have the washing machine right in the beginning and then it's over.
So I passed him at about 200-300 meters, and pace was okay, but he stayed with me, and I really struggled to get past the other swimmers, and that just took a lot of power out of me and basically made things very difficult. And with the guy behind me, I was really just struggling to get away. So he stayed at my feet, and then I let him go in front again, kind of in a way to recover, because I found passing these people, which often took a whole length at a time, really, one needed to recover from that, and swimming in a slipstream I thought would be a good way to do that. So I was fortunate to have him, but as you can see, there's just a lot of people in the water. and that made things kind of difficult. So it was really after about 2 kilometers that I started to struggle. I was a little behind him and I didn't really worry. And then I noticed that he just got through the people a lot easier. Maybe I wasn't aggressive enough. Maybe I thought he was slow enough to catch once I got through. The thing was, it took quite a while to get through everyone, and I guess I really got frustrated, and I really didn't expect to lose as much strength as I did going through everyone, and that weakened me a lot. One thing that bothered me a lot at the time, and I guess in retrospect as well, was that I went through a very low patch around about 2 kilometers. I guess it was one of those swims where I went by everyone, and it was just troublesome and annoying and frustrating, and that actually got to me. And I guess I'm used to swimming in the evening when there's no one around and having my way, and maybe my threshold is kind of very low, and I just found that I was kind of giving up in a way. I could have swum harder whether there were people in the lane or not, and I think I could have beaten that guy as well. And I guess I went through a part in that second kilometer where I stopped counting. I was just going through the motion. I remember at one point I was swimming behind some swimmers and just kind of sitting there, even though it was much slower than I knew I could go. My stroke didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't really attacking the guy in front. I guess I was thinking of, seconds not bad, thinking in that sense. And I'm not very happy with that, because I want to be pushing the limits, not being comfortable and not making excuses and not having limits imposed on me from other people. And this race really showed me where my desire was to win. And it's one thing to have a desire to win, it's another thing to actually make an effort, a real effort and a real sacrifice, and put in the hard work to actually get there. And it's about pain. How much pain are you willing to put yourself through to reach this goal you set yourself? It's easy to just set a goal, and then when you come up against the reality, then what do you do? And it's quite interesting watching the video again. You see right in the beginning, you see the guys in the lanes adjacent to ours heading up pretty quick, and you sort of ask yourself, did they think they were going to win? And the answer is, everyone thinks they can or hopes they can, but what do they actually do? What do you do to make sure that happens? And so that's really it. And I've got to look at things like, I only got 2 hours sleep. There are things I'm meant to do, like shave my legs. I didn't even shave my face. And just holding on to all those things that you were going to do, your stroke, I mean, I allowed my stroke to deteriorate quite badly. My strategy, I'm not sure was so sound. I think I could have stayed behind the guy much longer even. But I guess this is how one also learns. My stroke did seem to come back. Maybe this all just taught because I was not as fit as I could have been. And I felt that when I had a lot of open water and he was making slight inroads into me. We were crossing a line at the same point each time, and I just noticed that he was definitely, increasing. And, I could have gone on the pace that I've been doing in the 25 meter pool where I was doing 3:19s and that sort of thing, and I could definitely have picked the pace up for quite a while. I wasn't totally out of breath, I wasn't straining, but I was definitely weakened. I did a 500 meter warm up before and I felt pretty good. In the water itself, I felt fine. I just passing people all the time. That was what was tiring. And part of it was also lifting your head out the water to see and just the interruptions to one's rhythm. I think that got to me. But this race really just showed me that I need to strengthen my mental faculty, and that's quite fundamental. And then, but also finding different levels of success. If one gets to the point where things aren't working out exactly as one had in mind, then you make the most of that situation, like a can-do kind of attitude, and just doing the best and not getting aggravated by obstacles in one's way. And I really want to just work on strength. I think maybe I could do a couple of swim workouts. I don't really mind my swim not being 100%, but I don't want it to be 40% either. But this was an amazing experience in terms of just seeing how developed my desire to win is, and that I think was an important thing to look at and to analyze for the race. So that was
right? So it is a long way to struggle. It's 4 kilometers in a swimming pool continuous is a heck of a long way as it is. And I guess on this side of time, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with what my 30-year-old self was up to on a weekend. I could have just stayed in bed and look at what I was doing. I was really making myself uncomfortable and challenging myself. But I do wonder if my 30-year-old self could be shown a video of me now. I wonder how impressed he would be. And I think in certain areas he would be, and in certain areas not definitely not. How impressed would my 30-year-old self be with me now? And I think you can ask yourself that same question. And then what changes and goals and, adjustments do you think are necessary? And if you say, well, I'm not ready to have that conversation with myself, well, when are you ready? When should you have that conversation? Because it's too late when you're a grandpa. Sometimes it's necessary to have that conversation. When you're growing in the shadow, like the peach tree itself, do you think about those things then, or do you think about it when you're in the sun? Because when you're in the sun, then you're happy, but maybe sometimes you should think about it. And so, anyway, overall, I can't help looking at this footage and realizing how I've changed for better and worse in all sorts of ways. How have you changed since 10 or 20 years ago? And what do you like and what don't you like about yourself? How does think about it on a day-by-day basis. What are you doing every day that a younger you wouldn't have done? What are you doing excessively on a day-to-day basis that a younger you probably wouldn't have done? And what do you like about yourself and what don't you like? How does the past help us to improve who we are and who we are still becoming? Are we still becoming someone? Who is that we intend to become? In this case, I think I'd forgotten the details of something a former me did that's, I think, is pretty hardcore. And that makes me, it reminds me of my potential then and my potential now. And it kind of makes me just wonder overall, have I gone soft? Is it time for another challenge? Is it time for something like this, but different? What sort of challenge is appropriate given this sort of thing? And so I want to leave you with that thought. Is it time for you to challenge yourself? If it is, and if this video has challenged you in any way, and in any way specifically, let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this episode from Team Peachtree. Keep weaving, and I'll see you guys next time.